Mr. Singer?
If nobody else will, I just wondered on the Rocky Ledge project, that as long as it'll be explained later, you know, when utilities extend their lines, whether it's water, cable TV, the old days phone lines, you know, the companies usually paid a good deal of the cost, if not all of it, because of the additional revenue they will get from the services they sell. And maybe there's not enough revenue in this case, but I'd just be interested to hear that the water company in this case is supporting this in any way. And I would mention that, you know, hindsight being 2020, it's unfortunate the water line wasn't extended as part of the school project up to the new high school. I know it's something I asked about, I think others did too, and you know, because of money limitations, I guess it wasn't done, but in hindsight, boy, that would have been nice. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just to tag on to what Phil said, I saw in the paper just recently that a water main's going between Essex and Old Saybrook to the tune of $3 million. And the way the story read, the water company's paying for it. So, you know, I think we ought to make sure that we drive, if we're going to do this, that we drive the hardest possible bargain with the water company.
Thank you. Next one, Water Pollution Control Commission. We've been asked to consider Kate Zadek. She's been attending a lot of meetings and is pretty much up to speed. Matt, do you have a comment?
Yeah, Kate has attended a bunch of our meetings. She's been a town resident or at least a visitor for most of her life, having spent summers and then grown up here and now owning a home, being a registered voter here. She has a master's degree in public administration and a second master's degree. She has an expertise in public finance from her time on Wall Street, where she continues to work. She has shown an excitement over certain elements of what we do that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm willing to, you know, take her on and support her fully because of her you know, excitement. She's expressed interest in potentially, you know, working with River Cog, and that would be great for us to have somebody at the table who, you know, who's having those conversations. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my endorsement of
Good.
Kate Zadek. Yeah.
Okay.
She talks pretty good too.
Well, I'll make a motion to appoint Kate, how is your last name?
Zadek.
Okay. To Water Pollution Control Commission.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? In favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Next. Rocky Ledge Water Main Project. Our charge of the Board of Finance is to basically approve an authorization to spend for this project.
Correct.
By August 21st.
Now, we have to approve, regardless of who kicks in what and what grants, we have to approve the total number, which is about 4.9 million.
Right.
Correct.
Right. And it,
How you pay for it is an administrative decision.
right.
Right. I do want to make it clear in the minutes that any monies received from grants or from the Connecticut Water Company, which we hope will be substantial at some point, will go to offset town costs.
It goes back to general fund.
Well, not offset the costs that would be kicked in by the homeowner, so you mean by the town.
Town.
That's,
Okay.
Because what's going to happen, the town's going to pay for the project, and they're not going to bond it to a certain point. So you're going to be spending cash, you're going to reimburse yourself with any money you receive through grants, whatever, then you're going to bond the net.
Okay. So, who wants to begin?
Well, I'll start. I don't think we should ask the residents for anything. I think the town should bore the full cost of the project. We're going to hit them everybody's gonna get hit with an increase in taxes because of the project itself across the board. And to assess the residents any money to hook up or any portion of that cost is almost like double taxation. They're getting hit twice. And then they're gonna get a water bill on top of it.
Which will average about $60 a month.
So, I don't think you'll get any of them to come out and support this project at a referendum if they're gonna be hit like that with additional costs. So, I just think we should go forward and pay for it and let the chips fall where they may. See what the water company kicks in. I think it's gonna be substantial. Hopefully we get the grant and we'll go from there.
How many people are?
How many residents, Christie?
It's 120 homes, so
Yeah.
300 to 400 residents.
It's a lot of money per person.
So you're saying roll in the house
Everything.
costs, everything?
You're not gonna get them to hook up if you don't either. If you put the water line by the house, there's nothing that forces them to hook up.
We're not gonna pay for binaural or anything.
Yeah, hook up the house, do everything.
I think Willie's point is that we can run the line, but if they're gonna have to hook up, chances are it's not gonna alleviate the problem because they're not gonna hook up.
They're not gonna spend the money to hook up, and we can't force them to.
So you're talking about an annual payment on the part of the town of approximately,
Whatever the 4.9 million is.
$180,000.
We're not talking about the town eating the 4.9 million less grants and water company reimbursements.
What would have been what were they saying, how much was gonna go to each resident?
Nothing, they were gonna pay.
Well,
That's what I'm
it's,
saying, how much are they gonna pay?
It depends on the
so it would be the hookup.
428 per home for
that's,
that, and then 388 for the other piece. Christie?
that's assuming.
It depends on how it's broken down, but yeah, we were estimating up to 11,000 per home, and I do think that that's a high
Yeah, it's a lot.
conservative estimate, but you know, in some cases, it could be up to that.
122 homes, $11,000.
There's no doubt that some of the homes will be challenged.
Right, some of the homes will be, which is why we put the high number in there. I certainly think plenty will be lower than that, but yes.
20-year payment. The residents were paying for their own hookup, and $11,000 is a very generous
Yes.
cost assessment. So this is what they would be billed every month or every year for their assessment.
Right?
Plus the
So we
increase,
can't look at this because that's, yeah,
plus an increase in taxes,
yeah.
plus about $500-600 a year for water costs.
I mean, you can make the alternate argument that people who are gonna end up paying for it and not benefit from it are gonna not put forward a referendum as well.
Well, either way,
Right, so.
it's like the other areas of town that have the issues too. The whole town's gonna bear the cost of it,
Right.
some portion, so.
But the whole town isn't going to bear 100% of the cost.
We don't know, we haven't got there yet, have we?
I would say,
No.
safe to assume.
Right now, the only thing that may be given on those other areas, if they're sewer, is the usage cost, which is similar to paying for your water.
Yeah, I mean, that's the benefit of those other areas, if we end up, you know, with a sewer use tax,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
Yeah, but that really only goes to the operating costs. You still have the
Right.
capital
Right.
expenses.
Oh, right, no, I
there.
understand
And
that,
there's-
but
yeah,
there
right.
is something that comes back.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
Correct.
So Christie, we don't have a figure here for if the town takes on 100%.
No, you could add though, because that part one was what was the on-lot costs, so.
It's $4.9 million, that's what it
Right.
is.
That's
Minus grants or reimbursement from the water company.
You have to remember, the online cost is a super estimate because the meter, you really, actually, some of the houses were within 200 feet, less than 200 feet of the road.
Correct.
So, and now that you're going in, and the meters are not gonna be in the basement, they're gonna be on the curbside. So that's part of the project. So basically, you're going in, a pipe into the basement, you're gonna abandon the well on the property, make sure it is abandoned according to the code. And the hookups will be a lot easier than trying to put the meters in the basement. So it's really a direct line in hookup. The only concern we have, which we've discussed, is pressure regulators on the water coming in, because it's gonna be, correct,
Correct.
because it's gonna be higher than what, you know, they're used to with the well system.
Well,
But-
the toilets that they did here.
But I mean, some of them, I mean, we're gonna bid it out, and when you're done, it's gonna be a linear foot in, it's gonna be a hookup, it's gonna be so many feet in the house. So there are gonna be some lots that are terribly problematic. There are gonna be some lots that I don't even think we'll spend $2,000 on. So it is an estimate, and it's the only way to budget for it.
Yeah, it is called Rocky Ledge, like John said.
And like everything else, if you appropriate 4.9 and we only spend 4.5, well, you don't borrow the 400,000.
And Bruce?
Yes, sir.
Just from the WPCC standpoint, we're looking to ultimately alleviate the town's liability under the 1997 order, and getting full compliance up in that area does that. So that's a whole nother piece, in addition to all the things we've talked about before with fire protection, health and safety, and getting rid of where was I going with this? The one other piece is that these folks will still be within a district, of which we have a bunch here in the town, that are going to have to, there'll be some triggers where these folks have to upgrade their septic systems throughout the years.
Correct.
So they're going to be getting hit with the general tax base. They're going to be hit with their water bills. They're going to be hit with some upgrades to their septic.
Yeah, that's the other thing to keep in mind with this area. This isn't a sewer, solution.
It's not one and done, yeah.
Right, so they're ultimately probably going to have to bring their septic up to code, which is kind of the goal here.
This is what it allows for, because you create a separation from the well and the.
What
Now
was
it's
the
going to be
general,
done, yeah.
what was the general feeling on the commission for how it would be paid? Was there any thought as to how much the money?
The general feeling was to get the
Give it
town
to
to pay as much of the project as possible, because we felt, from our research and looking at the history, that the town bears a lot of responsibility for how that development went in, and what created the situation.
Just to interrupt you, what we're
Yeah, sure.
basically talking about is getting good, healthy water to these people, which is critical.
I just want to add one thing, and we did talk about it briefly at the last meeting, but to expand on it, in terms of benefits outside of the Rocky Ledge area, the fire protection benefit extends at least up to the intersection, I think it's Egypt Lane where that little shopping center is.
Evergreen, huh?
No, not quite that far, but also over on, Cow Hill Road. We're putting hydrants on Cow Hill Road, which will reach another neighborhood over in the area of, is it Longgate Road? And, and Arc and Deer Run.
So eliminate some of the tanks.
And eliminate some of the tanks on that the fire department is proposing. So there is a benefit even outside of Rocky Ledge to public safety.
Significant cost benefit, I believe, for Brian's, future costs of getting water up that way.
So that this discussion is one of policy going forward. The resolutions that are going to be presented are just basically the spending package, correct? The policy going forward will be presented at the town meeting 2 weeks prior to the vote, as far as who's going to bear what burden of the cost, which is an educational portion more than anything else.
Right.
So we're really just here to talk about $4.9 million going on a resolution.
Right.
And we have a lot of discussion time and maybe get some feedback from people of what they think about how this should be borne by residents.
We're basically setting the policy for what we're going to do today. Any other comments during this discussion period? All welcome.
To create some framework there, we looked at a bunch of different ways of splitting this up, and it was just for argument's sake. We don't know, we don't know how much of a steep grant the town will get, if any. We're going to keep pushing for it throughout the life of this project.
You keep it going.
Yeah, and then the Connecticut water contribution is sounding, at least from the word on the street, that it may be more substantial than we had originally.
Well, it's more than a word on the street.
Yeah.
At a meeting with the hierarchy of the water company, there was a strong indication from them that they would be a major contributor to the program.
As well they should be.
Correct.
The only other suggestion I would throw out there, if there was anything different than the town taking on the costs, would be if the homeowner took the on-lot cost on, that, my personal recommendation and original thought was that any steep grant money that was awarded would be to help offset on-lot costs. Still benefits the town's, contribution to the project, but is seen as a grant. And if you're worried about if that sets a precedent for the sewer project, we can say with a straight face test that any grant money that we're able to obtain, through sewer projects, we could apply that same type of model. So I don't see it.
This is not a sewer project, this is getting water.
This is getting water, so that was my personal feeling, was that there was a way to offset it if for some reason this was not palatable. And regardless, it helps the town on the bottom line.
You could hook everybody's house up and then, based on the individual cost, assess the people,
Yeah.
right? And that grant would be used to offset the cost of doing more as far as hooking up.
It's a little more administration, but it's.
Right, well, it's, yeah.
Lowers the
There's a shell,
cost.
this shell's over here, this one's there, this one's there.
You don't get them to hook up, it's not working.
Well, you gotta hook them up, that's the problem, right? You gotta hook them up, if we don't hook them up.
So whatever that
It's a
takes.
waste of whatever money we spend for the line. Right,
You gotta get the 120.
right.
That's right. That's critical. Also in terms of the Connecticut Water Company's contribution.
Right.
Okay, so we almost had a motion there. I thought Willie
Maybe
made
Billy
one.
almost made, I don't think.
Well, I make a motion to approve the $4.9 million cost, send it to the Board of Finance.
Second.
So you don't
The only-
have to define.
No,
Again, the only other
Last four.
further thing I want to say is, please make sure in the minutes that I think this group agrees that any monies we get gleaned from grants or the Connecticut Water Company that are received will be used to offset town costs for this project. Okay? In favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. This is a big deal.
Okay. Well, let me just add one other thing to this. They're talking at the Board of Selectmen this week about this $4.8 million, to go up to Rocky Ledge. I mean, given all of these kinds of uncertainties, it seems to me like we ought to put a moratorium on things like that, at least for a while, and say, look, let's not, we have a virtual crisis on our hands and we don't know where it's going. And to add another $4.8 million to that at this time is just not gonna fly. And having them go ahead with it like nothing has happened, nothing has changed, business as usual.
A moratorium until we see the state budget, I agree with that.
I would speak against moratoriums. I think what you do is take votes. And you take votes on those kinds of expenditures. There's some things you're going to want to have to spend money on. There's going to be those things you need to do. But I don't disagree on what do you take on at this point with 4.8, because I think we don't need a moratorium on that. What we need to do is get all the answers that we raised and that were raised and see how this whole thing's going to work. But, I think just a blanket say moratorium is not responsible, because we're here to vote. You may vote everything down that's proposed, but it's not a predetermined moratorium before you even know what the need is.
Okay, this is just to bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?